You ever notice someone who posts everything? Every meal, every outfit, every moment of their day. The gym session, the coffee run, the mirror selfie. If they're awake, you're seeing it. While some people barely have a digital footprint, these people are documenting their entire existence in real time. And you might think it's just about sharing their life or staying connected. But psychology says there's way more happening beneath the surface. The constant posting reveals specific things about their mindset, their needs, and what's actually driving their behavior. And what's fascinating is psychologists have identified at least 7 core psychological patterns these people share. So let's break down what's really going on with people who can't stop sharing their photos online. First, they're looking for validation from the outside, not the inside. Psychologists call this external locus of self-worth. What it means is their sense of value comes from other people's reactions, not from within themselves. Every like is a small confirmation that they matter. Every comment is proof that they're interesting or attractive or successful. Research shows that people who post frequently tend to have what's called contingent self-esteem. Their confidence goes up and down based on feedback, good engagement. But here's what's really happening underneath. Studies on social approval motivation show that some people have a higher psychological need for others to approve of them. It's not shallow or vain necessarily. It's often rooted in how they learned to get love and attention growing up. If approval was conditional in childhood, they keep seeking it as adults. And there's another layer. Research on impression management shows these people score incredibly high. They're constantly curating, editing, and controlling how they're perceived. Every post is strategic. Every caption is calculated. They're managing a brand even if they don't realize it. The pressure to maintain that image never stops. Second, they're stuck in constant comparison. There's research showing that frequent posters engage heavily in upward social comparison. They're always measuring themselves against people who seem to have more, look better, or live more exciting lives. And posting becomes their way of competing. If someone posts their vacation, they need to post a better one. Now here's where it gets psychological. This connects to something called relative deprivation theory. Even when their life is objectively good, they feel deprived if someone else's appears better online. So they post to close that gap, to prove they're keeping up, to show they're winning too. Studies on the fear of missing out, FOMO, show it's incredibly strong in frequent posters. They're terrified that if they're not visible, people will forget about them. If they're not posting, they're falling behind. The anxiety is real and constant. There's also research on narcissistic tendencies. And before you judge, hear this out. Studies show that social media doesn't necessarily create narcissists, but it definitely attracts people who score higher on narcissistic traits. Things like needing admiration, wanting to be the center of attention, and having an inflated sense of their own importance. Posting feeds all of that. And here's something interesting. Research on self-monitoring shows these people are highly attuned to social cues. They're constantly scanning to see what gets reactions, what's trending, what will make them look good. Their behavior adapts based on what performs best. They're not really being themselves. They're being whoever gets the most likes. Third, there's often underlying insecurity and anxious attachment. Research on attachment styles reveals something critical. People with anxious attachment tend to post more frequently. They need constant reassurance that they're valued and won't be abandoned or forgotten. Posting is their way of saying, "I'm still here, please notice me, please care about me." Not posting much usually connects to secure attachment, but frequent posting. That often stems from insecurity that developed early in life. If love felt unpredictable growing up, they learned to work for attention. Social media just becomes the modern stage for that same pattern. There's also something called rejection sensitivity. People who are hypersensitive to rejection often post more because they're trying to preempt it. If they can control how they're seen, maybe they can avoid being rejected. Every carefully filtered photo is armor against judgment. Studies have shown that people who post frequently report higher levels of social anxiety, not lower. You'd think being social online would ease anxiety, but it actually intensifies it. They're constantly worried about how they're being perceived, whether people like them, if they're interesting enough. And here's the emotional piece. Research on emotional dysregulation shows that people who struggle to process emotions internally often externalize them through posting. Something good happens, they immediately post it. Something bad happens, vague post-phishing for support. They haven't developed the internal tools to sit with feelings privately. Fourth, they often prioritize quantity of connections over quality. People who post constantly tend to have what psychologists call weak tie relationships. Lots of followers, lots of interactions, but very few deep connections. They know hundreds of people superficially, but struggle with intimacy and vulnerability in real relationships. Here's what's fascinating. Research on parasocial relationships shows that heavy social media users often confuse online interaction with real friendship. They think because someone likes their posts. There's also research showing that frequent posters score higher on extroversion, but also report feeling lonely more often. It's a paradox. They're surrounded by people digitally, but feel isolated emotionally, because likes aren't the same as being truly known. Studies on attention economy reveal something important. These people have learned to trade depth for reach. A thoughtful conversation with one person doesn't feel as rewarding as 100 likes from strangers. Their brain has been rewired to value breadth over depth. And psychologists have found that people who engage in constant self-disclosure online, sharing personal details publicly, often struggle with appropriate boundaries. They either overshare to everyone or struggle to be vulnerable with anyone. There's no middle ground. The performance becomes easier than actual intimacy. Fifth, there's a real neurological component. They're often hooked on dopamine. Research in neuroscience shows that getting likes and comments triggers dopamine release in the brain. It's the same chemical involved in gambling, drugs, and other addictive behaviors. Every notification is a small hit, and like any addiction, you need more over time to get the same feeling. There's something called variable reward scheduling at play here. You don't know when you'll get likes or who will comment. That unpredictability makes it more addictive than a predictable reward. It's why slot machines work. It's why they keep checking their phone. Studies on behavioral addiction show that frequent posters exhibit classic addiction patterns. They feel anxious when they can't post. They post even when it's causing problems in their life. They've tried to stop and can't. They need it to feel normal. There's also the concept of present bias and instant gratification. Posting gives immediate feedback. Real accomplishments take time. Their brain has been trained to prefer the quick dopamine hit over the delayed satisfaction of actual achievement. Why spend months building something when you can post a selfie and feel good in 30 seconds? And here's something most people don't realize. Research shows that the more people post, the more their memory gets distorted. They start remembering the post more than the actual experience. They remember how many likes it got, not how they actually felt in the moment. Their real life becomes secondary to their digital one. So when you see someone who posts constantly, they're not just social or outgoing. They're often dealing with deeper psychological needs for validation, for connection, for proof that they matter. Understanding this doesn't mean judging them. It means recognizing that behind every carefully filtered photo is a real person searching for something they haven't found yet. If you want to understand human behavior at a deeper level, subscribe. We're not here to judge. We're here to decode what's really happening beneath the surface.